Welcome back. Episode 128 of the Grouch and the Brainstorm. I am Mike, and I'm here today with Matt.
What's happening, everybody?
And Matt, it's good to see you again, man. We haven't seen each other in over a week, and glad just to get back into some recording, man. Some recording.
Yeah, yep.
How you been?
Man, everything is good. We doing kids with football, man. It's this whole weekend's been nonstop. So it's just that's our life this time of year, just hauling kids and running around the football game. So
Yeah, I get it. That's well, this what school's been going back on now for a little while, hasn't it?
oh yeah. They're all rocking and rolling full speed ahead, and um, the boys are all playing good. They're all on different teams, so it's different schedules and all that stuff. But yeah, weekend we start on Friday and we try to wrap it up by Sunday night. So
You know what? Before we go too far, yeah,
okay then,
right.
I know what that means.
That's right. That's our announcement music. And our own Jill L celebrated a belly button birthday not too long ago, Matt. Couple weeks, maybe 2 weeks.
She's what, 82
She,
now?
she's 49 again this year.
Oh
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
again.
obviously not gonna, say. And I hope our listeners remember Jill. It hadn't been too long, maybe 3-4 episodes where she made her exit from the show.
Yeah. And it's probably because she got elderly. It could be
Well,
that. Could
that does
be.
happen, and you notice she was talking about that a lot there towards the end. So,
she I did call her the other day. I think I talked about it on the last episode, checking on her, and the AARP was mentioned in there. That's all I'm going to say. It was mentioned. So
and
I don't
they do
I don't
not have
know.
a pill to not get older, or if they did, everybody be addicted to it, but
Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Sure.
yeah. Well, man, let me tell you, I have not been to a meeting in over a month, and it was I tell you what, man, it was pretty cool, but I got started down that road and headed, I left my place of employment. I headed to Carson City, 30 minutes south. And, I had that whole, I don't know anybody, don't know what the clubhouse is going to be like, feeling, should I share, shouldn't I share thing, going on. And about halfway, maybe I'll just sit in the parking lot. And anyway, I kind of had to turn that over to my higher power and just say, hey, I'm just going to go in there and do what I do and go to a meeting, right? And so I headed down there. And the strangest thing, Matt, they have a store here, and I think I've seen one somewhere in Louisiana, but it's called Lazy Boy, right? And I guess that is like for some kind of recliner or chair.
Yeah, lazy boy recliners. Yeah.
Yeah, but I thought it said Lady Boy, and I was like, Matt, you love this place, right? I was got that, and then I got a little closer and realized it said Lazy Boy, and then I was like, Matt would really love this place.
Either
So,
one, either one is fine. Yeah. Uh, yeah.
but
You-
well, the
Thanks, Mike, for
meeting.
thinking of me.
Oh, well, I always think about you, Matt. The meeting was a 12 and 12 meeting, which I have always enjoyed. The only one I've ever seen was down in Mandeville, Louisiana, and so I guess every Thursday they have a 12 and 12 meeting, and they kind of go around the room reading. Everybody reads a paragraph, and then there's open discussion like the last 20 minutes of it. And me being oh man, a showboat and always having to be important. I had to share like 12 times in this meeting. No, actually I shared 3, but there was a newcomer there and she seemed a little newcomerish, little
Yeah,
raw.
sure.
But hey, everybody welcomed her and no one was mean to her, no one said anything bad to her. So that was a good deal just to watch her kind of learn what it's all about.
Yeah.
And but I went down there and I really enjoyed that meeting. I'll go back again one day this week. And today though, just this day, I went and jumped on the Harley and drove over to California. I got about, I don't know, 50 60 miles out of Sacramento, turned around and came back. But I went through the mountains and just drove all through man, this some of the most. Now, this isn't the weird part of California, right? This is Northern California, but I went through the just streams, people on the side of the road trout fishing, and I mean, I hope that's what they were doing. Um, you never know, but there was just some of the most amazing things in creation that is out there that's to be seen. And dude, that is just, man, to me, is just so healing, right? Just to get out
Hmm.
stuff, especially when you've been going to work every day. But it did not substitute for going to a meeting, right? It just didn't.
Sure.
So I got to thinking about it, and I yanked out the old big book, and if you there is a paragraph in this thing, right, in the big book, and we hear it a lot, and a lot of old timers, some people with a little bit of time, they'll repeat it and they'll say it, but what does it really mean? And if you're a newcomer, what does it really mean? Okay. So, because for me, it's changed over the past, I don't know, however many years it's changed. And so it I guess the only way for me to describe it would be to read it. Okay. But the alcoholic is like a tornado. Okay. Now, is that the drinking alcoholic? Is that the sober alcoholic? I don't know. The alcoholic is like a tornado roaring his way through the lives of others. Hearts are broken, sweet relationships are dead, affections have been uprooted, selfish and inconsiderate habits have kept the home in turmoil. We feel a man is unthinking when he says that sobriety is enough. Wow. Now think about that. Now, we feel a man is unthinking when he says, I'm just sober, right? So let's just say it's been a month since I've been to my last meeting. Okay. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to get drunk, right? That is
Yep.
not, however, it does mean that I very well put myself in a position to become restless, irritable, and discontented, and which I really was. And so I walk in this meeting and I go in there and the guy says, hey, my name is whatever. You can tell he's been around a while, right? He's just that guy. You know what I'm talking about. You can just tell he's probably got 30 years, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, and he asked me, he goes, you have any, how long you been sober? And I told him 14 years. And he said, I said, but it's been a month since I've been to a meeting. And he's like, oh yeah, the squirrels are starting to get out of the cage, aren't they? And that right there, it tells me that I have to have something more because of my condition. I have to have something more than just what my best thinking gives me. Oh, I'm not drinking, so I'm sober. Well, I may be physically sober, but am I emotionally sober?
Hmm.
Am I sober enough to make rational decisions when it comes to my life, or do I jump to conclusions? And I have some folks in my life, or people that I know, that can spin off, man, real quick. And you wonder how long has it been since they've been to a meeting, right? But it says,
Hmm.
like, in this second part, he is like a farmer who came up out of his cyclone cellar to find his home ruined. To his wife, he remarks, don't see anything the matter here, Ma. Ain't it grand the wind stopped blowing? So, what we're saying here is, hey, just because the wind stopped blowing, just because I stopped drinking, doesn't mean I'm going to stop causing all the turmoil, right? So it's important for me to connect with that fellowship, and I think sometimes the newcomer doesn't understand that phrase. Keep coming back, right? Man, you can be 3 months sober, you can be 6 months sober, 9 months sober, but if you're still caught up in your head and not listening to what other people have to say, are you really effective? Are you doing the most you can do for your family and for yourself, most importantly? Um, Home, work, and all our affairs. And are we doing that? Are we? So I learned, that, man, and I didn't learn, I knew this. I went a while without going to a meeting when I first moved to Dallas. And, you just start getting a little different. You lose connection with those people, you know,
Hmm.
I'll never knock a Zoom meeting. I'm not going to say anything about that. Some people do only Zoom, and hey, if that's what works for you, go right ahead. For me, man, I got to be sitting next to that newcomer who says, "What's this sponsor stuff all about?" You know,
Yep.
I had a
Yep.
friend named Adam down in Mandeville, and I mean, that's how I met him. I mean, I sponsored him for years until I left, and he's still sober to my recollection. But the last time I heard he was sober. But that's how we met, sitting next to him in a meeting, and he's like, What's this sponsor thing all about?" So I kind of need that connection with other people that are like me, right? Does
Yeah.
that make
Sure.
sense? Kind
Oh
of.
yeah.
So, how about you, Matt? Do you get kind of messy whenever
Oh
you?
man. It's funny you brought that up. So the line of work I'm in, it's seasonal kind of, for the most part. And I go a lot through the summer where I'm not in meetings like I should be because it's just a lot going on. And normally this time of year, into September, October, depending on weather, I get into more meetings because I have time. I'm home earlier and things like that. But I can tell in my own thinking, crankiness, irritable, all those things. And it's funny in this past, I'm coming into that kind of the year's wrapping up. But Lacey told me the other day, she's like, "You're so grouchy." And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." It's funny you brought this up. So then I'm talking with my sponsor. Today's a Sunday, so that was Thursday night, and he told me in his sweet way of putting it, "Your ass needs to get in some meetings." And I was like, "Yes, you're right." So uh, yeah, I can get out there, and but just what you just said, man. We do the big book study on Sunday nights. I've been doing it this month. Tonight was my last night for the month. I get through and I go to get up and there's a guy sitting over to the side and we kind of have an area in our club that's kind of goes into another room and people can kind of slip in and you don't notice. There's a guy sitting there and I mean, you know how we are, man. We know each other and I knew this guy was fresh, and I just went over and introduced myself and he's upset the whole gamut like we all are when we come in there and went to detox for 3 or 4 days and just got out of detox and walked in his first AA meeting. And so we had a conversation right before you and I talked to him, drove home and got on here with you. But he did me so much more good than I know I did him. I don't think he realized how much he helped me, but he sat in the parking lot, didn't want to come in the meeting, didn't know what to think, all that stuff. And I'm sitting there kind of smiling while he's telling, I know he's thinking, this guy's laughing at me, but I wasn't. I was just, and I told him that. I said, man, look, keep coming in here, keep coming back, just come in this group, hang out, um, listen to what people have to say. And typical of all of us, we don't come in there on a winning streak, and he was not on a winning streak. And he told me some of the stuff, and I again was kind of chuckling because I'm like, "Yep, I did all that stuff too," and um, and I don't know if it's the right thing to do or not, or the right way to approach it. But with a guy being that new like that, I said, "Hey, man, things are not gonna just overnight all these problems like the tornado. There's still a mess there. And I said, it's not going to clear up overnight. Everybody's not going to love you because you just got out of detox and came to your first AA meeting. So you're going to be up and down. It's going to be tough for a little while. And I said it was tough for me like that. And I got in here with these folks and uh, I was able to point at Travis and Rhonda. And I said, they were in here when I came in here just like you. And I know they were in here and they talked to me just like I'm talking to you. And it gets better and kind of hopefully encourage him. And he said he was going to and subscribe to the podcast, so he's going to follow us. So, uh, but it doesn't don't have a we don't have a lot to lean on when we decide, hey, for whatever reason, I got to get my crap together here and stop this. And you know, I think he had a little bit of relief knowing there's a whole bunch of us that hang out every day at 5:30 and talk about it. But yeah, I mean, I can get off the rails quick, and but I also think God, God and AA intended for those moments, man, for that new person to be there and me to be reminded, hey, idiot, don't take this light. You know, you were in the same shoes and can be again if you don't take it serious, you know?
Yeah, I
So
do. 100%. And that is, well, like let's go back that tornado roaring through the lives of others. Imagine like, you're I don't know, the dad of a family and you have small kids and you get sober and you go to meetings all the time and you're doing the right thing. You're doing, what you think you're supposed to be doing anyway. And all of a sudden, you stop going to meetings because life is so good and everything's working out for the best. And you get in that spot to where now they all look up to you, they depend on you. You might be the center of whatever, and they come to you for answers to questions. And well, you're restless, irritable, and discontented, right? Well,
yeah,
you're
right.
right there to be in that tornado that roars through the lives of others. And so, man, I understand completely. I do
And
that.
we had two medical students in there tonight, and I hate that Phil F is not in there when medical students come in
Yeah,
because
you
he
love
loves
that.
to terrorize them. You know? But I told them they were lucky he wasn't here, you know. But they were real sweet and they were listening, and I explained to them too. I said the thing about it is, and I showed them the steps, and I said, look, alcohol is just mentioned one time right here. The rest of this stuff is us learning how to live life and live life on life's terms, and you know, and I explained that to the new guy as well. And I said, man, this is going to teach you how to deal with that feeling like you're feeling now, and when things are messed up, we're going to offer you a solution to deal with that, rather than turn to alcohol, you know. And but I think most people come in, they start off with the I got a heavy drinking problem or drug problem, whatever it may be, but yeah, and they figure out, wait, AA for me took away the reasons that I had to drink and use. So that's what it did for me. It took away those things that I could say, oh, I'm upset, I'm fear, resentment, anger, all those things. It showed me how to deal with that stuff and took that away. So that's
And
the miracle of it to me.
a lot of once we get through the steps and we get past that point, we get to an area where we start helping others. And
Hmm.
a lot of our time is spent just helping others. And when that time is spent helping others, I mean, you kind of forget about what you've got going on long enough to where you can kind of actually let your higher power decide how we're going to solve this, right? Like
Yeah.
how we're going to get to, and you don't have to do it because well, your time is spent helping others, And it
Hmm.
says even in this same part of the big book, it says the spiritual life is not a theory; we have to live it, right? And
Yeah.
and that's part of it, helping others, altruistic program. So I mean, I understand a lot of this completely. So I think that's a huge part of it. As I go off and I remember my last meeting at the Koala Club. It was the end of golly, it had to be sometime in September, and I go to the Koala Club and I go to a meeting and I'm wondering when I'm coming back. And then I go on, right? And me and you, we had already pre-recorded some episodes, so I didn't even have any episodes in the hopper. And so it kind of there was no recording, there was no meetings, there was no, and then on top of that, the chaos just alone of moving,
Yeah.
and I don't know, like people, I guess a lot of folks don't realize, but I worked in Dallas until Wednesday at noon, and I had till Saturday at 7 to be at work, 1,800 miles away. And so I didn't even have the opportunity. I mean, I was living in hotels. Wyatt rode with me, drove the truck up, through all those states to Reno, and then got here, moved into a hotel, and just immediately started to go to work. There was never really any. And then, like when the movers dropped the stuff off at my apartment, I had to run home, let them in, and then gradually, day by day, unpack. And the whole time, are there resentments building? Is there's no meeting there. And I know better than that. And I've had this conversation when I moved to Dallas on one of these shows. So, but you get restless, irritable, and discontented. And then someone that you love, my daughter, she'll reach out and you'll snap, in your head. I don't snap at my daughter, but she'll reach
Yeah.
out to me, and then somebody else will reach out to me. And my main thought is, don't you know I'm in the middle of it? No, they don't know.
And don't care.
Well, yeah, they don't. Yeah, exactly. They're not programmed to give a rat's ass what I'm in the middle of. But then there's that one person that'll call and say, "Hey, are you busy?" Right? And they're actually asking, "Are you busy?" And you want to say, "What the do you think? I'm always." There again, that's part of that not having that, that sit down 1 hour a day, right? Of just being a part of a sober community and understanding that number one, when you go to an AA meeting, you automatically understand you're just not that important.
Yeah.
There's something about it that just, you sit down and you realize I've been going to this meeting over here for X amount of time, and how they've been making it here without me all these years.
Yeah.
I mean, how they've been getting along without my service.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was a very interesting feeling to have, but it's a good feeling to have, and it's also the humility of knowing, hey, I'm just another bozo on the bus.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was real nice talking to that guy, and I think people don't get it until they're in that position. But man, it was like God put that dude right there where I had to pass by, and I just went, "Oh, this dude is for lack of a better term, fresh off the boat," and it made me stop, and you know, um, but man, just looking at all that stuff, it's like looking in the mirror, and I did. I mean, by the time I had walked away from him, my whole attitude had changed, uh, and I hope I see him tomorrow, but that's another thing as well is you sponsor people and you do things like that and they go, what meeting do you go to? Oh, well, I go to that you're kind of pulled along with the whole boat there, so
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Very, very cool deal, man. It is.
yeah.
And to me, I think one of the more stressful times in my life, you know, for some reason, I ended up with a sponsee that just really needed some help, and that's how. But I couldn't have got that had I not been going to meetings. I couldn't have got
Mm.
that had I not been doing those things that I was supposed to do. I wake up every morning, I pray, I do, and I still pray on my hands and knees. Some people don't. How you pray is your business, not mine. I do say I pray on my hands and knees. I've heard people get upset whenever I said that in meetings, and I mean, but I never would get upset. If somebody told me how to. Man, I don't care if you swing. How you put your legs over a swing set and kind of go back and forth. I mean, you probably don't do it much anymore, but I do it quite often. But if you pray like that, man, it's none of my business, man. But
Yep.
I still
Yep.
do. And I still pray every day. I still say that I'm an alcoholic. Some people may not. Some people have the enough, whatever it is, I don't know, to say they're never going to drink again, right? I'm not. I can't do that. I can't say that because that gives me power. And I admitted in step one I was powerless. So I don't know. I know I got a really good shot at making it through the rest of the day, right?
Sure.
So that's my hope, But how you pray, nobody's business. We just kind of keep on keeping on. So I just don't, I pray. I even now, when something good happens, especially, in my life, most of the good happens with all good, everything. But whenever, Everest, that's a big one, man. Whenever we have a win, and when the doctor says, "Hey, one day he'll be walking," right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's going to lead me to another conversation here in just a second. And Everest has become, since he was born in July of 24, have a big part, of what, well, just the way I think, because they're no one ever told him he couldn't, and that's a big deal because
Yep.
there's a we didn't think he was going to make it, and all of a sudden he makes it. Now they're saying his brain is good, his legs are good, everything's good, and
Oh,
yeah, but no one ever told him, and I think a
yeah.
lot of times we tell ourselves we can have the best family in the world, and every single one of them say, "Hey, we're gonna support you, and we're gonna do this, and you can do it." But if we tell ourselves we can't, well, you know, that's what happens.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
so that's a
That's
that's
that's good to hear about him too. Uh, that's what's so funny, man. Is all those doctors and everybody and they're smart, and I know they got all the knowledge and the tools and the medicine in the world, but at the end of the day, God's going to decide how that plays out, and He's going to make that final decision. And you know, um, if you're around something like him and you don't have gratitude and you don't that doesn't put things in perspective for you, then I don't know what I can do for you, but every picture of that kid, he's smiling, and you know what I mean? He just rocks and rolls, baby, every day.
I
So
got one, and I don't know how to add it to this podcast. And I'll be even more honest with you. Um, it may just be an audio podcast. I clicked on my other machine that records our audio, but for some reason, none of yours has actually uploaded at all. So it may be, I don't know if it's because you're using the phone. I don't know. But it may end up being an audio podcast. But the next video podcast, I will make sure I put the latest picture of that kid. And Savannah takes some really good pictures of him. But I really do want to add that clip in there. And I know we use this format right here. I actually have another. I'm working every morning. I get up at 3:30. Believe it or not. I mean it's 5:30 your time, but every morning I get up at 3:30 and I'm working with that device that I was using whenever we were at Jill's. Remember the one that I
hmm,
bought in that allows us to hook 6 cameras up to it and all that,
right.
working with that device to give us another format, right? To where we can actually have it to where it's almost like we're in the same room with each other. So, that may be 2 or 3 episodes later. And if I have to release, I don't know how many people actually watch the video anyway, man. You
Yeah,
know, I don't have anything that tells me that. But it is something that I work on every day, and it's cool that me and you can sit here and see each other, even if other people can't see us. And I do
sure.
know for a fact your audio is recording because I sit here and I'm watching it over here on the screen, and when you say something, your little line goes up. But so we do have this audio, and it's gonna, and hopefully, we're in 41 countries. Did you know that?
I didn't even
41.
know there was 41 countries, man.
I don't know how many there are. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I probably should know that, but
We would love for people in those countries leave us a comment. We've had a few here and there, but man, comment, tell us where you're at, what you like, don't like,
I want to
uh
know what is AA like in. Well, I'll just use an example. Brazil is the number one country other than the United States. I think that's because you buy your wax from there and they like
mm.
us so much. But that is like we got the United States and Brazil for some reason. Huge percentages come out of Brazil, and I don't
Huh.
know. So what's an AA meeting like in Brazil, right? I can imagine Canada is probably just close to us, and
Yeah.
and Mexico is, well, I don't know. They may, obviously there are going to be more Spanish speaking meetings than there are, but I've heard people from the U.S. who go to countries that don't speak English, and they'll go to all Spanish speaking meetings, or they'll go to all whatever meetings, and somehow they figure it out. I guess just from the some of the nuances that we see and that hear in these meetings.
I've heard some of the military people say, like, it was either Germany or Japan. I heard this a long time ago. Don't remember the country, and I know those are two totally different countries, but They said there was actually a translator in there, and it may have been on a military base, like a meeting on a base or something. But yeah, they enjoyed them, you know. But it'd be interesting to know what's all going on with that, you know.
Well, do you remember at the Koala Club at one time we had a Spanish speaking guy. He only spoke Spanish.
Yeah,
He didn't
yeah,
speak English. We talked to each other back then. I think the only way was through Google Translate, and the different dialects don't necessarily play out in that sometimes.
yeah.
Um, Dude, my glasses, not these that I have on, but those Meta glasses, they translate. And
Uh-uh.
so, yes, I click an app on my phone, and when a Spanish speaking person is talking to me, I know what they're saying. The problem is I can't talk back because I don't know what to say. So
Yeah.
unless we both have the same glasses on, well, then we're not going to have a full blown conversation.
That's wild.
But and it translates in real time. Like as me and you were talking right now, it would come out to you in whatever language you are. Which but have you ever been in a meeting in the U.S. right here where we had a translator that was translating? I went and actually picked up a big book in Spanish for this young man, and
For that guy, I remember that.
remember that, and they were not
Yep.
as available as I thought they would be. But I guess here's where I'm going with that. That dude kept coming back, man. He was in there every single day. And from the best of my knowledge, and I had personal time with him, the best of my knowledge, he couldn't understand anything that was going on.
No,
So
let me second that. He showed up where I worked, okay,
me too.
wanting a job. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh the problem is you have to have certain things legally to work. He had none of that. Okay. Like nothing. He had a work ethic. That's what he had. And I was like, buddy, I love you, but I can't legally do this. Uh, Good dude. And I hadn't seen him in a while, but I hope he's still around and you know, great
I
guy
hope
though.
I hope he's sober. I do. I hope he has a sober life and he's living his best life. I don't. I
Yeah.
just know that no matter what, that dude showed up every single
Yep.
day. Another
Yeah.
person I get to talk to almost daily. Oh wait, yeah, you hear that, Matt? No, I get to talk to
No.
Coleman almost every day now.
Oh,
I have talked to Coleman twice since we have been on this podcast. He has texted me twice, and he is going to be on the show. I don't know when, but he's going to be
good.
on.
We need a Coleman appearance to keep things rolling the way they should. It's been long enough, you know. Uh,
I think so.
Coleman's he's one of one, so thank God. So
And yeah, and we want him here. We want as much of that as we can get. But he's found gainful employment, and now he's excited about it. And I talk to him. I don't know, sometimes 20 times a day he texts me. So, and that reminds me of Coleman goes to a lot of meetings. Like he goes
mhm,
all over town. He'll
sure,
go to a Zoom meeting here. He has a home group over here. He has all these things going on, and so he has a lot of recovery. He does, and every year
absolutely.
see it. I remember though. I remember he was just a little kid in a meeting, and he had just got. I think he got sober. He's 31, 32, somewhere in there, and he's been sober about 12, 13 years, 12 years. He
Hmm.
said maybe 11. He has a few years before me. I think 2013 is his sobriety date. But man, it really shows. And I've watched him work with a lot of people. And I guess the reason I bring that up is because one, he said he'd be on the show, but number two, long term sobriety. Obviously you can't drink, but if you're gonna have it and not be miserable, you're gonna have to have some. I mean, how about that? I don't know what anybody else is gonna have to do, but I'm gonna have to have some form of program. I just something, and I learned that, or I learned it again the other night when I went down there to Carson City to that 12 and 12, and it was a 12 and 12 study. I mean, it wasn't like, well, and the thing is, it was on step 12. We started on page 116 or 117. If you know what I'm talking about, that is the page where we talk about relationships and AAs, meeting AAs, boy meets girl in AA, and that whole scenario. But then if you keep on reading, it talks about finances, it talks about romance, all of those things that seem to be contentious points in recovery, right? And so it even talks a little bit about the family after in step 12, which,
Mm.
you know, step 12 is about working with others. That at face value, I would sit here and say, well, let me read step 12. And it says, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we tried to carry this message and to practice these principles in all of our affairs, try to carry the message to other alcoholics and practice principles in all of our affairs. And so if you take it at face value, it's just working with others. But when you get in that 12 and 12 and read step 12, it talks about romance. It talks about finance. It talks about the family after, and how sometimes, like, especially if you're a couple and you get sober while you're married, then that the spouse might often want to know why couldn't I do it? Why couldn't I get this person sober? And that I had that experience in my recovery, man. I did. I had, like me and my ex-wife were together for many, many years, and she would try to get me to go to AA, try to get me to sober, tell me, went through a divorce several times or a few times, just so much, and then I go to rehab whenever I feel like I'm about to lose my life, and I take it serious. And because I take it serious, I go to the rooms and actually give it a shot, and then I get recovery. And then she's wondering, how come I couldn't get you sober? Why you didn't love your kids enough to get sober for them? And the truth is, yeah, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Because they're not going anywhere. I mean, they're
Yeah.
my kids. So that was a big deal. But it talks about all of that in step 12. And so you have this guy had been into sobriety, doesn't matter how long I've been sober, doesn't matter. Sobriety, been sober 14 years, goes a month without a meeting, and he walks in and it's like a sponge, just soaking right in. It's just, man, I really needed that. It is definitely I need to go to some right here in Reno. I live in West Reno, so you leave my house and you get on the highway that actually just runs right here by my house, and you go 12 minutes down that highway and you're in California, right?
Wow.
Yeah, you right there, California line. There's a sign that says Nevada, and 50 yards down there's a sign that says California, and that's 12 or 13 minutes to the west. So, but this particular meeting is in a place called Carson City, and for some reason that reminds me of the Old West.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that was in Gunsmoke or something, but I end up in Carson City, and I go to this meeting, and I sit down and don't know a single person in the place. They've never heard of Bossier City, Louisiana. They've heard of Dallas, obviously, but I sit down and just all this stuff just starts coming back to me, just soaking it up. And I'm thinking, probably don't need to go a month. Not again, not without a meeting.
Yeah.
That's just not
Yeah.
smart of me. So that is definitely one of the reasons we say keep coming back, because
Yep.
you build friendships, you build fellowships. I don't have friends really outside of AA that I can, come up with, that I can think about, right? Everybody I know, everybody I care about, right there in AA, and I think I was looking back earlier on our analytics, and I looked at the top 10 meetings we have, right? And so I'm going to go back in real quick, Matt. We had already talked about this, and I left that page open. So
The episodes.
yeah, here's our episode rankings, and I'm just going to I'll do them so that first meeting is still number 1. That was our very first episode, and we published that on April the 28th of 23. And I'm not going to do the dates of all of them, but that was a while back, right? To over 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
And then getting that sponsor, episode 2 is our second most listened to or downloaded. So we have Life After Getting into AA, episode 4. Phil's story is actually the 4th most downloaded or listened to episode. Then you got Dickie T in number 5. Number 6 is Going to Any Length to Get It. Number 7 is Lacey. Number 6, number 8 is Spirituality. Number 9 is Step 1, and number 10 is Jill.
Don't say the Lacey one too loud. She's over here to the side of me, and she'll start wanting royalty checks. Okay.
Well, you'll get them when I get them. How about
There
that?
you go. There you go.
So, and I said we were in over 40 countries, and we really are in over 40 countries. Our newest that I can think of that we may not have mentioned, and I'll just kind of guess on this one, is Serbia, Lithuania. We got China, and China's there. You'd think we'd have a lot more listeners because there's a lot more people. But that one we don't have, but less than. And so I think I've actually mentioned all the others, but I just remember the last time I talked about it, we were at like 29, 27, 28, 29. And so that's just, that's just different, if that makes any sense. And then when we go to actually how many episodes, let me see if I can figure this out. So, just this month, we've had like 191 listens, right? And so I'm trying to think, it's like 11,450 total streams since we've been on Spotify. Like that's 11,250 even, right? And that's how many times someone has listened to our episode. And I don't know if they started, didn't finish, or I don't know about all that. And then, of course, we do have a few people that actually comment on a lot of our episodes. And I think, do you get that? Because you interact with them somehow.
Yeah. I check. I just check Spotify, and YouTube. And if somebody does, man, I'll holler at them or whatever, man, that's awesome. I mean, that's what it's all about. So
I don't run the YouTube page. So I have to, I have to get with her. She can maybe copy and paste me some for our next episode, which hopefully I really and truly, especially if we're going to do audio, I really and truly want to do a couple of episodes a week if we can find the time to do it. So that would be, maybe there's that person out there that just needs to hear it. I will say this, just because me and you get on here and we joke and we have some fun, and we hopefully make recovery seem like something that somebody would want to do, that is not a substitute for an AA meeting, right?
Nope.
You need to go to an AA meeting. And what I would love to do is see somebody go to an AA meeting, get sober, shoot us a message on Spotify and say, hey, can I tell my story on your show? Because if you notice, our top 10 episodes, out of those, 5 of them were people's stories. People like to hear people's stories. And Matt, with the way I've got this thing set up now, we could actually, I've got this machine I'm looking at, it has a call in where people can call in, or we can use the software me and you are using, send them that link. They can be on here, and provided they have the right, whatever it is, then the video will come out. And if they don't want video, well, I'm also recording over here on audio, which is way different. That's how we did it at the very beginning. We did all audio. None of the shows I named in our top 10 are actually videos either, by the way. Now, that makes it different on YouTube, but those are all when we had 6 microphones hooked to a machine that's obsolete now. I think I sold the last 2 I had on eBay just to get rid of them because the software is just not. I use a company called Rode that is just, for some reason, their stuff is kind of like Apple. It all interacts with each other. And I know my devices and stuff will work on there. So if that makes any sense. What I can't figure out is, like, when we started recording this show, what you're hearing and what is being recorded is actually the volume is on my phone. That's my iPhone that you hear. So you're not hearing this.
Yeah.
That's actually what the machine's hearing. It hears my microphone, but it doesn't hear this. So that's odd, because the last time I did have it going through here. How does my microphone sound on my phone? Does it sound okay?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Oh,
you sound great. No,
okay.
no worries.
All right. Feel a little better.
Too, I want to reiterate what you were saying and talking with that new guy tonight, and I showed him the podcast while we were talking, and when I was early on, I would go on YouTube. I cut grass, so I'm on a lawnmower all day. I put headphones in. So just trying to keep my mind on positive stuff, I would listen to speakers like out in California. There's a big group out there that records speakers and people, and I listened to a ton of that stuff all day in early sobriety, and I still listen to stuff. Uh, Not like I used to, but early on, it was a lot of the day. I would listen to just speakers or whatever it might be, and I told that guy that. I said, look, man, that's exactly what I told him. I said, this is not a meeting deal, but there's a lot of good people's stories on here that you should check out. And you may hear some things and kind of, keep you in that place where when you're by yourself, that's something you can turn on and, you know,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
so
Matt, it reminded me what you just told me. I had a conversation with someone the other day, has nothing to do with AA, right? And they were talking about someone they knew in recovery. And I was asking, how long they've been sober, what are they getting sober from? What are they coming off of? How's their attitude, and the things like that. How's their attitude towards recovery, and how long have they been sober? And they said, well, I think about a month. Well, they got out of rehab a month ago, I think is what they said, and they were in rehab for a month. And I said, well, what's their attitude? And this person who is not an AA, nothing to do with Alcoholics Anonymous, nothing to do with recovery, period. Person's not one of us, best of my knowledge, said, oh, well, she, and I probably shouldn't have said the she, but whoever we're talking about is a she, is looking forward to one day being able to tell their story in front of a group, you know. And, there's two sides to that. Number one, let's just worry about today, but I can also remember early in recovery looking at a speaker going, one of these days I'm going to be up there and I'm going to be telling my story. And so there's two sides to that. Let's just not worry about that. Let's worry about today, what we got going on today. That might be, I think I told my story the first time, and I have 1.4 years sober, something like that, one year and 3 months. But today, I got to get through today. I can't tell that story if I don't get through today. I'm never
yeah,
going to get 5 years if I don't get through today. I'm never going to get 10 years if I don't get through today. And that's a really, to me, and the reason I share that information, because there's nothing wrong with that, right? But if I want to watch TV and I want to see that baseball player out there scoring the most home runs ever hit, I got to get through this game. I got to get up to the plate. I got to get better. I got to get better, or my chances are not ever going to do that, right?
yep,
But it
yep,
doesn't hurt for me to look at that and go, one day I'm going to score more home runs than that fella, right? And
sure.
so I really don't know anything about any other sport, so I couldn't think of a better analogy. But
I didn't get him. I didn't get him this week. But I've told the story on the podcast before, and he'll tell it when he gets on here. But we have a guy named Justin coming up, younger man, younger guy. Uh, he, if you've heard me tell the story about, he was whacked out on some stuff, and Jesus was sending him messages in the mirror to his face and all that. Yeah, he's
heard
going to come on, and he's doing a lot better, man. I kept in touch with him and actually texted him, talked to him the other night a little while. He's doing well, and I texted him this week. I said, "Hey, you want to come on a podcast?" And I asked him the other night. He said he'd be willing to do it. I said, "Do you want to come on the podcast?" And he said, "Man, I'm in Montana with my family on vacation." And I said, "Oh, you mean you're not in jail? You're
you.
not doing drugs? Oh my God, you know?"
He's
And
a caller from Montana too.
yeah, yeah. Well, I don't want to get him too messed up, but he might be dodging grizzly bears or something up there. Uh, but yeah, I mean, even that little deal, he kind of laughed, and I said, yeah, it's a lot different than it was the last time you and I saw each other, and what you were dealing with. So he'll be on soon. He can tell his end of that story about Jesus writing words on his chest in the mirror. So,
I remember you telling me something about that fella, and I think we
yeah,
might have talked about it in one of our earlier episodes.
I
You
did.
know,
I did.
I think the one of the reasons why, if because obviously this is me and you, we get on here and we talk about stuff in recovery and we talk about our own lives and stuff that's going on. And I think what the reason why I wanted to do this, or I wanted to talk about this, is because we really can be the tornado roaring through the lives of others. And we can get in there and we can do the AA thing and we can do the spiritual thing and we can work with others, and somehow we seem to be able to tolerate the rest of the world, right? Or
Hmm.
they tolerate us. I don't know, but we seem to be able to do that. And when we go without any kind of meetings or fellowship or the things that we talk about in AA, we tend to get to where we can go back, even if we don't drink, to be in that tornado, because we're just, in lack of better terms, sometimes we can be assholes.
Hmm.
And I can't think of a better way to do it. But in the big book, in Bill's story, and I often talk about this. I don't know if I do a thing, like if I do a speaker meeting, or I'm going, I speak in front of a crowd. But there, in Bill's, and I wish I had uh, my paper big book, because I know right where to find it, but I can't find it right now. But Bill talks about in some of the last little paragraphs of his thing, of his Bill's story. He talks about meetings, and we commence to make fast fellowships, commence to make fast friends. But he talks about how the purpose of going to AA, or the purpose of these meetings, is to have a place to go. There's scarcely any form of trouble and misery which has not been overcome among us. In one Western city, in our environs, thousands of us and our families meet. We meet frequently so that the newcomer may find the fellowship they seek, right? At these informal gatherings, you may have up to 200 people. We're growing in numbers. The whole point is, we go there, we get recovery, someone new comes in, we are there for them, they get recovery. When we don't do that, our process has been broken. There's there's something about the process that's been broken. And anybody that knows me, and I mean, like, knows me kind of, you guys know me, but anybody that knows me and spent any time around me know that if my routine gets broken, I'm a different person. I become almost just a shut in. Like, I kind of fold in, and I won't say nothing. I just sit there and just kind of look off, because my routine's been broken. And so I'm here in Reno, Nevada. Um, I'm at a new facility, and I don't know anybody here. I'm 1,800 miles from my home, roughly, and so I wake up every morning at sometimes 3:30, 4 o'clock, and I come in here and I actually do stuff, podcast stuff, trying to prepare my new equipment, or our equipment, to go back to some other format other than what we're doing now. And then at 6:45, I leave and I go to work. I get there at 7. If I'm sometimes 6:57, somewhere in there. And then I work, and sometimes I don't get home until 8, 9 o'clock at night. And I take a bath and I lay in the bed and I read. Sometimes I don't quit reading till late at night. And anybody that knows me knows that's my routine. And whenever that gets broken, no matter what it is, well, I had a routine before where AA was part of that routine. And so if I see myself getting restless, irritable, and discontented, I'm going to understand, hey, it's because you're jacking with your routine. And AA is
Hmm.
part of my routine. But for some reason, if I meet with a sponsee, it doesn't seem to bother my routine any. It just for some reason that just and for me, I'm gonna say it's probably a gift from God, one of those things, because if it did, I wouldn't do it and I would feel uncomfortable. And of course, I would end up being a tornado roaring through the lives of others like I've always been. And now I just try not to be, you know.
It's funny. It's funny you brought that up about the tornado and the after effects. And Justin will tell you this. I hadn't talked to him in a while. We hooked up the other night. He texted me about something. We were talking, and the first thing I asked him was, "How's your mom and dad?" I didn't ask him how he was because I did. I got to meet them, in that tornado that we all do. My mama, I call my mama once a week. I didn't do that when I was in out there. I didn't. I could care less. I try to make sure that I've talked to her at least once a week just to touch base. Hey, how's everything going? You all right? Um, because we do cause that with folks around us. And Justin laughed when I said that, and his mama was sitting right there. She said, "We're fine," and had a conversation with them, and that is, I mean, it affects everyone. We affect everyone when we're doing like that, and I think he's starting to affect them in a good way now, and I'm pretty glad about that. But
Well, I'm hopefully we can get him on the show, tell his story.
yeah, he'll be back. We're gonna hook up, man. He's a good guy. He was in treatment when I worked at a treatment center. He came through there twice, and uh, I've dealt with him from day one on a lot of stuff. He lived next door to me. He was a neighbor for a little while when he first got out of treatment, and uh, I've seen the ups and downs of it on multiple levels with him, and he's a good guy. He's a good guy, and when he gets straightened out, he's unstoppable.
A guy named Justin.
Do what now?
I sponsored a guy named Justin right there I think he lived in Benton.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know if it's
This
the same guy, but
I don't think you sponsored this guy because I know his old sponsor when he was living by me. Uh, Shout out to BK. BK knows who he is, but
yeah,
that's all I'll say on that.
was it out
Do
in Benton?
what? Uh.
Okay.
It was in Bossier City.
Okay. No, I did sponsor a guy. He lived in Benton. His name was Justin. I don't remember his last name. I wouldn't say it on the show anyway,
Yeah.
um, but I did. I sponsored a guy out there. So, um, Matt, we're about out of time. One thing I do want to say. I meant to say this. Wyatt, they today they got to South Carolina. They made it to South Carolina.
Good.
He took a role out there, so my grandson rode on a plane for the first time ever. So that's pretty cool. And then, so I guess they're. I don't know the way I'm gonna see them. I'll have to fly there or fly them here. We have a lot of ski resorts here, and Wyatt likes to snow ski. So I'm thinking that maybe sometime I can fly him and Zeke out here, and we could run down to one of the ski resorts not too far from here. Or I'll go out to South Carolina, which is where my boat and is going to be. So maybe we'll do some fishing in the summer. But he did make it. He did make it. He's out there. So
That
uh,
boat has been around, man.
that boat. I bought that boat in New Orleans in 2019 or 2020, and that boat has been in New Orleans, been in Bossier, been in Dallas, and now it's still sitting on that lake out there in Grand Prairie, but it's
But it's heading that way.
it's headed to South Carolina because he's here the only I mean there's Pyramid Lake and there's Lake Tahoe, and everybody talks about how cold Lake Tahoe is. You can't swim in it, which I don't really do that, but they have different kind of fish here. They don't have the same kind, but but out there is basically it's just like fishing in Louisiana. You're gonna have your what do they call
Yeah.
it, soccer. You ever heard people call
Like a
it
lake.
soccer?
Yeah.
You ever
White perch, man. Oh yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
So that the books I'm reading by, remember I'm still reading this dude. This I'm on book 8, by James A.
Oh, come
Burke.
on. Yeah.
Yeah, Dave Robichaux or Robichek. I call him Robichek, but I think it's really Robichaux.
It is.
Uh, but they call it Sokolay. That's
Yeah.
and the only time I'd ever heard that's when I first moved down to New Orleans. We had a member of the club who he asked me if I knew what Sokolay was. I was like, man, I don't know what Sokolay is. I don't, that white perch. Yeah. Yeah, that's the
And
stuff.
Cajuns will call, when you get down near that salt and brackish water, even in North Louisiana, we call them bass, largemouth bass. But down in South Louisiana, they call them green trout. So yeah, that's all they call it. We call green trout. So I'm like, okay, but
Well, Matt, looks like we put another episode to bed. Hopefully, with the next one will be a speaker meeting, and I'm going to get off here and figure out how to get this thing edited so I can get it out hopefully tonight. But don't forget to leave your phone on, just FYI, so that whatever this thing uploads can upload. I don't really understand how all that works, but one way or another we'll figure it out, and we'll connect on when we can record again. Hopefully, one day this week and get episode 129. You know,
man,
so and I really want it to be a speaker. If you can find us one, maybe you can, join and we can get them on. Remember, I'm 2 hours behind you. So right now I'm back in time. I went back in time on you. So, but anyway, tell everyone out there I said hi to all the listeners, guys. I want to hear from you next time. Matt, thank you for coming along again. One more episode, and we'll see each other soon. So
yes,
I am
sir.
in. We are at Rule 62 Studios number 2, and we've always been the Grouch and the Brainstorm.